What is your key objective if you were elected?
My key objective, if I was elected, is to tackle austerity measures. I think they're crippling our country and our town as well. I also want to see Bournemouth in particular move forward as a green holiday destination. So it's not just the UK's #1 beach destination, but it's also a green, moving forward town that embraces all of the things that we should be embracing as a country. Creativity, environment projects, community projects, everything like that.
The first priority I've got, and I think every Labour person has, is a National Health Service. We are going to put people before profit. In my view, I would like the whole of the National Health Service to be renationalised. But the Labour Party are not going that far. They're going to try and stop the stem of privatisation. But in my view, it should be completely renationalised, along with the railways, that is. The second one is women's equal pay and rights. Yesterday was International Women's Day. Didn't see much of that advertised around. Mm-hmm. So that is going to be a big one. Housing for local people, controlled immigration, and another favourite one of mine is tuition fees for students. The Labour Party are going to cut it down from 9 to 6. If I had my way, there wouldn't be any tuition fees.
Key objective, if I'm elected, would be to argue for constitutional reform, I think, to change the way we elect our representatives. I think the first past the post system is very archaic and it gives an inordinate amount of power to a small group potentially. So constitutional reform and sort of break open Parliament and Westminster so it's more accessible and more linked to real experiences and real lives of people who are being represented, because it seems quite distant for me at the moment. In addition to that, I suppose my key sort of themes that I'm very interested in are community relations, because I think often the way distinctions and tensions are explored and expressed creates tension, doesn't actually reduce it. I'm fanatical about education and schooling and also public transport. Green issues, I think, should be something that underpins every political ethos. It shouldn't be a selected political tool or item. So yeah, sustainability in a nutshell.
Well, the key objective, I think, for any Member of Parliament is, hopefully it is going to be the same, is to represent all the constituents of your constituency. And it has been a real honour to represent the wonderful seaside town of Bournemouth, not least because it has two fantastic universities and some great academic operations here. So I want to make sure that we continue to work to make this a wonderful place, an attractive place, not only to study, but also to live, to visit, and indeed to work. And I think we've got some excellent opportunities to move that, advance that agenda forward, not least because of the academic work that is happening at this university and indeed the Bournemouth University in establishing itself as one of the best academic areas in the Southwest.
My key objective is one of principle rather than policy, is the way I would answer this question. My key objective is really to represent as effectively and as honestly and as honourably as possible the people who have elected me to Parliament, if that is what they do. So that principle would be at the core of my objectives, because anything other than that is really basically dishonest. They're my boss, so to speak. They've put me there, and it's down to me to represent them in Parliament. But beyond that, of course, when it comes to policy, I'm sure it's quite well known that our core policy is to restore sovereignty and democracy back to where it should be, and that's with the British people expressed through their Parliament. And that, in terms of policy, would be the principal objective, of course.
Our main objective is to protect, I think, the NHS. That's our #1 priority at the moment. But it's just to build a better society where we haven't got all out strict competition for every last penny, and a more society that's based on fairness and social values. We want to move away from this kind of idea that everything's cutthroat and we have to beat everybody else. It's about working together. It's about people who having the ability to help those who haven't got the ability. So we want to make it better. So the NHS is very important to us. Women's rights, racial equality, better pay and conditions for everybody, especially those at the lower end of the spectrum.
To basically represent Dorset and represent Bournemouth West and represent the greater field of Dorset and Bournemouth. I feel that Bournemouth is getting underfunding from the government. We need to get a lot more funding. We are one of the least funded councils in the whole of the UK. If we had the same funding that other councils got, we'd have millions of pounds more to spend for services in this country, in this area. Also, I want to represent the people of Bournemouth West. I want to get out there and start hammering the drum, selling Bournemouth West. And by the way, I love Navitas Bay. I like wind turbines.
I think fundamentally my key objective is to represent the people of this constituency, because no matter what political party is in power nationally, I feel there's been a move over the last 10 or 20 years to professionalising politics, and I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. At the moment, we have MPs up and down the country who represent their party first and the people of the constituency a distant second. I mean, fundamentally that needs to change. We need to represent people first and foremost.
If I'm elected, I would like to address what we see as in the Green Party as the key issues of our time. That's housing, education, health, but underpinning all of these issues is austerity. We are the only anti-austerity party, which really surprises me given the effect that austerity is having on our communities at the moment.